Assalamu alaikum. We're back with another video. I hope everyone's doing well. So we are on episode 7 of Your Heart series. And before we dive into the diseases of the hearts, once again, I did say that in the last video that we were going to start on the first disease of the heart, miserliness. But I was reflecting, and I think it's best to spend a little more time just diving deeper into the causes of the diseases of the hearts and kind of going back to the root issue. We did mention in the last video the two root the root causes, or where the diseases stem from, the two main sources, which is self-satisfaction and love of the world. You can go back to the last video if you need a review, or if you missed the last video, I go more into detail about what those two things are. And we also talked about the two extreme parenting styles, authoritarian and permissive parenting styles. So I want to just continue on that path on parenting and dive more into that. And I want to go specifically into focusing more on the Oromo people, because we have our unique issues in our community, because we have a similar backgrounds and similar stories, and we kind of have the way we grew up and how we were raised is similar. So I feel like we have the same, as a community, we have the same issues. And especially growing up as immigrant children, and we have immigrant parents, we have those unique issues, the diaspora issues. And so I want to just go back in time. I want us to think about how we were as kids. How did our parents raise us? And let's just go back in time for a little bit. Let's go way back, because a lot of the issues that we have now is coming from the way that we were parented and the environment that we grew up in our childhood. And so let's talk about specifically about the stressors, because stress, it will cause issues in your relationships, physical issues. A lot of diseases that people are experiencing right now comes from stress, emotional issues, behavior issues. The common denominator is stress. Yeah, so parenting and how our parents raised us will affect our attachment styles, and basically most of the issues or how we are right now mostly develop in childhood. So let's go back in time. I want to focus on the stressors that our parents faced as immigrant parents, and also the stressors that children faced as immigrant children here. Parents went through their own issues, kids also went through their own issues, and there's a double layer of problems here. And there is a disconnect between children understanding what their parents went through and the parents understanding their kids. And so I feel like in order to heal as a community, we need to focus on or start with the issues that we had, and that comes from understanding each other first. So I have a list of 7 main stressors I feel like our parents went through. So I'll go through that, and then I have 7 main stressors that we as immigrant children face growing up here in Canada or anywhere else in the world as immigrant children. Okay, and so you guys can add, this is not like an exact list, it's just like what I think, and so you guys can agree with me, or you can disagree, agree, or if you want to add to the list, you can share it in the comments. So as parents, our parents went through unimaginable stress, things that we can never understand as kids that grew up here in the land of safety and resources. Our parents went through unimaginable past trauma. They had to relocate, they had to migrate, they went through war, they went through so many hardships. So basically everything that happened before they arrived here, their past trauma, that is a form of stress that they carry with them. So that's one. Number 2, the money struggles they had to go through coming to a new country with literally nothing in their pockets and starting from scratch. They didn't have parents to rely on, they didn't have friends. Our parents, I believe, are They are like the first generation that arrived here in Canada. And so there wasn't a community that was already here established that would be able to help them. So they are like with no resources. They built a whole new family for us. And that's just amazing to me when I think about it. It's like they're the real heroes. They went through so much and they gave us like the life that we have here. They gave us everything, and they did that all from nothing. So the money struggles, the financial struggles they went through, that was a unique situation that they had, that I don't think we will understand. Number 3 is language barriers. Again, coming to a new country and not even knowing how to communicate the language. Not having translators or resources to help them. So they're coming here, trying to learn new language, figure out the whole system here without any help. Number 4, fear of losing culture. So coming here and raising their kids here and not having a community. So there's always that fear of, how will my children learn the culture? How can I preserve their language? How will they know themselves? So there's that fear and that stress as well. And feeling that they're going to lose their child to the system and they're going to forget who they are. So all of that was also a stress for them. Number 5 is not understanding their kids. Their kids spend all their day at school and they're growing up here in a whole new world and they're not seeing eye to eye. So also the fear of just, and the stress of just not getting their child, because the way they grew up and the way their kids are growing up here, two totally different things. So they're not able to relate to them. Kids are not able to really explain to them of what's going on at school, or they don't know how to, or they don't want to. So that's another form of stress, not understanding their own children. 6, the pressure for their kids to succeed. So I think like status was a big thing for them. So they have that pressure, and they also put that pressure on their children. Like they want their kids to grow up to be doctors, lawyers, have a degree, even though it doesn't always happen that way. But they have that like community pressure of like really worrying about what other people think of them and their kids. And so they really want their family to look good in people's eyes. And so they have that pressure to make sure their kids succeed and really have like a good career, a good job. So that was another stressor for them. And number 7 is not enough culture support, which goes back to what the other point I said. It's just not having the cultural support here, not having their community, things that they can relate to, and just being very alone here. So that was also a form of stress. That those are all the forms of stress that they had to go through. And they came a long way now. Now we growing up here, we have, the Oromo community has really grown. There's so many people here, many more like events, resources, and they're more established. And people who come now, they have like a community that they can lean on. But back then they didn't. So they did all this alone and from having nothing in their pockets, which was so difficult. Just me imagining it, like I just can't imagine being in that situation. And then on top of that, they had to go to work, raise a family, be there for their kids. Not only that, but they had to continue to support their family back home. So they had to work. They're thinking financially for both, right? For the family here and back home as well. And so those are the stressors that our parents had to go through, and I feel like they carry with them till now. Now going to continue on with the stressors, let's focus on the kids now. So basically me and other people who grew up here. So this is coming from experience, and also things that I've talked about with other people as well. So we had to struggle with 2 different cultures. So we grew up here, but we are Oromo, but we don't know the Oromo culture. Like we didn't grow up with the Oromo culture back home, and then we're growing up here. So like, are we Canadian? Are we Oromo? We're juggling like 2 different things. That our identity is not clear. The confusion in that area of like who we really are, and how do we celebrate like our Oromo-ness and then our Canadian-ness, if that's even a word. But yeah, so just struggling with the two cultures, that's difficult. So even till now, I still feel that way. Even on and on top of that, the Muslim identity too, right? So Oromo, being Muslim, being Canadian, so many different like identities that we have to juggle with. Number two is a pressure to do well. That ties into what I said before, parents and the status that they want to hold up. And so that pressure to follow what your parents want you to do, you want to make them proud, you want to make them happy. At the same time, you also have you're your own person too, so you have your own goals and dreams and wishes. So like, what do you do? There's a sacrifice, right? So you go your own way, but then you risk angering, making your family angry or disappointed. Or do you sacrifice your happiness and follow what your parents and just do what they tell you to do? So the pressure to do well in their eyes, that was very especially for me, that was a big one. I think for a lot of people that's a big one too. Number three is not fitting in. So that also ties in with the first one about juggling two cultures. So just not fitting in anywhere. So even when you're with the Oromos and the Habos and the Oromo people, you don't really feel fully I don't know. Yes, we know we are Oromo, but it's still a part of me kind of feels like that I don't fit in, especially with the language aspect, because I'm not fluent in my language. So I just feel like I don't fit in properly. So even when I go back home, they look at me as like an outsider. Not in a bad way, but I still feel like because I didn't grow up there, obviously, so I don't really fit in fully there. And then here too, when you grow up here at school, people don't know your culture. You're just trying to blend in with them. Even like religiously, back then growing up, even though now like more people know about Eid and Ramadan and there's more awareness about our culture and religion, but back then there wasn't a lot of information back then, and so it was just very hard fitting in anywhere. Number four, trouble talking to parents, which ties in what I said about parents not understanding their kids. And so it's difficult for children growing up here to talk to their parents, especially about emotions, feelings, and about what you truly feel. I think most parents, and I know you guys know from the Instagram videos, a lot of immigrant kids, not just Oromo, but when they make like funny videos about parents, it usually they make fun of it, but it's really serious. But they show how strict their parents was, how growing up their parents were very strict, and you weren't allowed to talk about feelings and emotions, and they're very like commanding, and you just had to do what they say. They're very in control, and so it's hard for kids to speak to their parents about how they truly feel, what they truly want, their goals. And it's changing now, obviously, but like I feel like most immigrant parents were like that, and it was hard for kids to open up to them and tell them what's going on at school, like real issues, real problems that they're having, because they feel like their parents are not going to understand. And I don't think this is just an Oromo issue. I think it's a global issue where kids can't really communicate with their parents, but I feel like it was even harder as immigrant children. Number five is discrimination. So racism and discrimination, and again, just not fitting in, and the system just not understanding who we are, and the system just not built for us. And we see now with more information spreading online, we see how the system really works, and that it wasn't really created for people of color, Black people, and so we had to struggle with all of that as well. Number six is a lot of these stuff actually overlap. So number six is not being sure about who you really are, like having identity issues, basically not knowing who you are, and not having that. I really don't know how to explain it, but just not. I think it's just, if you lived it, you understand it, but explaining it in words, it's difficult. It's just not knowing who you are. So we didn't really grow up in the Oromo community. We didn't grow up back home and where we we are with our culture, with our people. And then here the community is not, we're not always together, like, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's just not knowing who we are all the time. And I think we need more representation, more resources, more things representing Oromo culture, so kids can really understand who they are, their roots, and who they are and where they came from. We need more knowledge and more information, and I think we need our parents' help to do that. I think by hearing their stories and hearing what they went through, we need to find a way to preserve the legacy of our parents. And I think it's through knowledge and knowing our history that we can truly strengthen our identities. And I'm thinking, like, in the future, how will they know, the kids? Like, how will the future know about the history of the Oromo people if we don't have resources to learn from? So we need more books, more stories. We need movies, TV shows about the Oromo culture, about the Oromo people. Number 7 is balancing friends and family. Again, I think our parents are very protective, and so we were always kind of, I don't know if it's called helicopter parenting, or just being able to balance school and family. And at school, you're like another person. At home, you're a different person. You're like two different people, and trying to like balance all of that. That was stressful. So, yeah. So basically, those are like the issues I think as kids we went through, and we need a platform or some kind of way for the two generations to speak to each other about these issues and understand each other. When parents are stressed out, it's gonna affect their parenting and the kids' attachment styles. And so usually when they're stressed, they're gonna be more authoritarian or permissive. So authoritarian is because they want full control, not because they're bad or they want to give their kids a horrible life, but they're trying to protect their kids. Remember, they're coming from a bad place. They're coming from trauma. And so their main concern is safety, and trying to keep their family alive and making them successful in this life, financially, career-wise. And so in order to do that, parents they feel like they had to be strict. So tough love. There was the other extreme where they're so stressed out that they can't even handle the issues coming up. And so permissive parenting is just like, they don't even know what's going on. They don't care what's going on. They do care, but like they don't have the capability to give them the emotional support or just be there emotionally for their kids. And so that's another issue, right? And so there's a lot of things, and that's just the beginning of the conversation. I just want to just start talking about those things. And yeah, and so I'm not saying that all the issues that we have come from because of our parents, but they are major risk factors, and a lot of issues that people have now do begin in childhood, and it kind of increases the risk of those issues appearing in adulthood. And like not even focusing on Oromo or immigrant parents, just as human beings right now, all children, teenagers, like mental health issues and kids and the ages are just getting lower and lower. Like younger kids are going through mental health problems, things that people were not going through until they were like older, where they're going through like major problems, maybe like a death or a divorce. Or yeah, my video got cut off, but as I was saying, more and more children are getting diagnosed with mental health issues, things that were usually seen in adults because of major problems like death or divorce or job loss, financial issues, things that we would see later on in life. Little kids are being diagnosed. So I don't know if it's because parents are more aware of kids and they're more in tune with like emotional issues and they want to get them checked out, or it can also be because of the way the society is right now, where there's less. Remember, our physical environment and the way we live affect our mental health, right? So it's not just about emotions, but like kids are getting less outside time, less time in nature. They're spending more times on screens and technology. The foods that they eat is garbage. So all of these things, sleep, they're not sleeping properly because of the time, all the time they're spending on technology on their phones. And it's just like the environment that we live in right now is not protecting a child's mental health. And so as parents, we have to work overtime to fight society and to protect our kids emotionally, mentally, physically. And so yeah, so these are just important things that we need to start talking about as a community, and I hope I can raise more awareness in my videos. And I would love to hear your comments. DM me, message me. I know a lot of people don't like to publicly like share comments about these issues in my comments. Most of you guys private message me about your issues, your mental health issues, emotional problems that you guys are going through, because it's so personal. But the more that we do share openly, the more comfortable we can be in speaking up, and hopefully as a community we can heal together. And so yeah, so that's the end of this video number 7, and I'll see you in video number 8. Assalamu alaikum.